Right, so Phil, I was online the other day, and I have two huge passions in life, which are health and well-being. They are in disorder: health and well-being, and sales. Health and well-being for the very nature that it runs through all of us, and sales because it's my day job. It has been for years and years and years. I've had sales businesses and now look after 50 SDRs where we are. I saw something that you had posted which on many levels hit me like a train. It was open, frank, honest, and it was about mental health, how you deal with it, how it transcends into your sales environment, but more importantly, I just wanted to find out a bit more about the man himself, because I don't know whether it took a lot of effort to post that, whether you were daunted, whether it is natural to you now, but I just wanted to hear your story, if that was okay.
I think it's short answer is no. I don't find. Yeah, no. You keep walking across. You'll add to the. We can steal your image rights and make some money and all that stuff. It's not a big deal for me, and I think that's part of my personality. I quite enjoy being the friction wherever it is. That there's so much weight behind discussing mental health. It's such a loaded conversation, and I'm very anti-survival story with it. There's lots of stuff of people who have, attempted suicide, survived, and then go on kind of these soul-searching journeys and all this other stuff, which is great. It's good for them. It doesn't help the millions of people every day just address the fact that we're all not quite there. And I think the US Air Force, once upon a yonder in the 50s I think it was, they were looking at creating new seats for pilots. So they went out and they took the average measurements from all the pilots and they built a seat, and nobody fit the seat. Not a single pilot, because there was no average person. So everybody is slightly off kilter, and the difficulty we have is that at the very lightest end, that's fine. People say they're having a bad day, or they end up doing the opposite, which is putting on Facebook how brilliant their life is, or whatever it might be, the kind of the normal day-to-day shitty stuff, like had a crappy train journey here, so I was pissed off. A few people, they were the same. That's fine. The really far end, you have those people who cannot function because their mental health issues are so profound, they cannot function. Care a psychiatrist, they're really serious. And then you have the stuff in the middle, which is where most people will sit some of the time. And that's people like me. And many, many others. And the issue we have is that saying that mental health is not a point in time issue, that it is a constant every day. The first thing I think about when I get up in the morning is my mental health. It profoundly affects everything I do every day. It's the last thing I think about before I go to bed, because it is the constant chain that has to be dragged around. So just fucking deal with it. Not there to be ignored. So when I put the post out, absolutely fine, because we need more people to stand up and say that mental health is not a feature of the landscape. Oh, look, there's a tree as you go past on a train. This is part of who I am. It defines a lot of who I am. And we need to be louder and more aggressive and more shouty about saying that it's fine. And we need to be more transparent with more people to force this critical mass away from mental health as this back room, or mental health equals depression. Think cleaning the floor, you think Hoover, not vacuum. Hoover's a brand. It's vacuum cleaning. That's been lost now through just this common parlance of hoovering. They're the same with mental health. Say mental health, people immediately think depression.
It's got the old insult of mental in the very name, in the diagnosis of what it is. So I've been. No, go.
Please keep coming. It'll make great footage. We'll culture
It's our fault for sitting right in the middle.
That's fine. We can put some bright pink on. No worries.
I mean, mental health. by definition, has got the old insult right in the middle of its own diagnosis.
Yeah.
So how could you put a word that you can't talk about, because I can't say, I don't want to say that someone is mental, or I'm even whispering it in case anyone hears the word. So if I'm, in fact, that's quite a good point. If I'm even whispering about it now, how are we ever meant to talk about it? How is it ever meant to be part of the landscape? I love the fact there's a tree, it's come, it's gone, it's not. It's mental health, as I know, as everyone should know, is with everyone, right? It's not a case of whether you've got it or not. Everyone is human, everyone has emotions. You can't chase something to make you happy, because even if you've got all these riches that you think you've got there and you've made it, happiness and not being happy are an emotional state, and mental health is a state that you can find yourself in whichever landscape you're in. So my point is that if everyone's got it, we should be able to talk about it. And if you see someone with a flu or a cold, you can offer them a tissue or a Beecham's, or say, take the rest of the day off, because I think you should feel better. I don't know why something that can be so restricting to people, and this is why I want to hear your story, and so limiting to everyone, to productivity at work, to your own well-being, is not talked about. And this is why I'd like to open the conversation to talk really frankly about, if we're all on a scale, which is what it is, right? It's 0 to 100, whether you're hungover, depressed, your dog's died, you're having problems in your relationship, you are clinically depressed, and like you said, you've got different levels. We're all on it. So what I loved about your post is that we've got a business leader in tech and sales, which are predominantly two of the biggest most stressful industry, rivaling the likes of the NHS in some reports that I've done in terms of stress levels. You're talking about it, and hopefully others will hear and see you do it. And you're paving the way for others to say it's all right.
Yeah, I think, so that post was, the hardest bit about the post was the number of private messages I got from people saying, thanks for saying something, I wish I could. There's some guy sent me a message basically that if he was open about his mental health with his family, he would expect divorce. Like, come on, you're not married. The person's not your partner if you're not being honest. So, do yourself a favour, bang a 19-year-old, get divorced, crack on. I don't know how the problem. I don't know how the problem can be solved. I don't think anybody can. The only thing we can do is look to move from vacuum cleaning to hoovering, and just make it such a common part of the conversation that it becomes a business as usual.
Yeah.
Lots of people now message that they take mental health days. I've got a great employer, they were okay with me taking a mental health day. Well, there are 365 of those mental health days. It is work. The amount of work you have to put in depends on who you are and what's going on in your head. So for me, just got a chemical imbalance in my brain. It's a chemistry problem. I don't suffer from depression. I'm not down in the dumps.
So what have you got, I suppose? Where is your level on the?
So I'm quite a boring bipolar guy in that I have my curves, my peaks and troughs of the kind of the mania and the downside. They're not too bad. So I work with a psychiatrist, great guy, about £4 billion for 7 minutes of his time, so I assume he must be good. I have two advantages. So the first of which is that my condition is not so severe that I am non-functioning at the top and bottom, which many people, get to. The other side of it, and there's nothing that can escape from it, is that I work really hard. I work really hard on my mental health every day. I saw him earlier this week. We're changing how we're running my medication routine. We're splitting up how my meds are administered and changing some doses, because I've found over the last 20 weeks that I am not able to stay stable. And when I'm in the drop, there are some patterns of, there's a distance thing, in the distance it's like living slightly behind frosted glass. I am functioning and function at a high level. I just make there's a couple of areas of life where I sort of drop stuff. You can see in my personal life, my spending patterns change. It's a very odd correlation between where I sit on my cycles My spending patterns when I'm heading down are more erratic. I spend more money on shit I don't need, that didn't really want, and then come out the other side as the glass sort of starts to clear, which has happened over the last 3 or 4 weeks, that I go, oh, that's weird, let's check the patterns. So I can then see that it's about 16 to 18 weeks that I've been in a dip, and it's one of those things you don't necessarily notice that you're in.
What drives you to spend more on
No idea.
stuff?
Absolutely no idea. It's almost like a third party spend. It's not like I don't spend anything lavish, and it's not like, you know, you can see over the periods that I'm down that I'm blowing loads of money on Coke and hookers or anything exciting. It's more things like, I was averaging 2 Tesco shops a week during that period, and there was less cooking from scratch. It was more cooking stuff that went straight in the oven. Everybody has their own patterns, and this is the part where you can't get away from the work. You have to put the work in. The only reason that I put the work in is because I'm not prepared to spend my life as somebody who walks around ever thinking that my life is influenced by mental health. It's absolutely controlled to an extent by my mental health. It affects every part of my life. My dogged refusal to accept that that is my defining characteristic pushes me to put the work in every day.
So if I said to you, like I think a lot of people can relate to stress, anxiety and depression. If I said to you, what is bipolar? What would you say?
Variety. It's variety in how your personality is reflected internally and externally. I am a slightly different person in enough minor ways for it to be distinguishable when I'm up and when I'm down. Because for me, the bell curve is quite long, really, really long. Which it might be for many others, but for me it's quite long, so I don't have really sharp periods of, you know, today I woke up chill and tomorrow I woke up completely different. It's a very, very progressive thing. So it's sufficient enough that if you looked at me across a year, you could say, okay, well there's 16 weeks there and there's 10 weeks there that Phil was kind of version A, and then the rest of the year was version B. And it's just minor differences for me. The amount of work I put in every day stays the same. The success of that work is also different, because when it is a difficult one. It is like living slightly behind frosted glass.
What does that mean? Like as you are, look, everything is a bit muffled.
Yeah,
you're overthinking because when someone's talking with you've got other stuff coming in.
Bigger than that. It's just it's a slight lack of clarity across everything. So it's not down at the micro level. It's macro. You just sort of, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, I just sort of gradually went, oh, hang on a second. I'm feeling slightly different. And the slightly different is me coming back up and going, oh, actually, I've just been a bit sluggish over the last, 16 weeks or so. And then I talk to my wife and I talk to my business partner and I talk to friends and go, oh, just to check. And they go, well, not so much that we'd really noticed, but now that you've mentioned it, this, and this. Okay, great. So we've been able to identify a period of, look, this is me not functioning at my best. And it's because I'm in the dip section. So now I'm coming out of that. Now's the perfect time for us to be talking, because I'm back to reflective and high functioning.
Yeah, but what's really nice is that you're educating me, for one, and I think one of the things that people may have thought of bipolar is that there's 2 polars. So 1 minute you're like that, and then the next minute you turn around and you're over here doing that. So there's an education piece in the middle, isn't there?
Yeah, think about like best way to think about it is in like bird migration. Yeah, there are birds that travel significant distances around the circumference of the globe, and there are longitudinal migrators, and the Earth is the curve, so they start at the North Pole, say, and make their way 2/3 the way down to Africa or something, and go back again. It's a very progressive thing. Within that, within the larger bell curve, everybody has their ups and downs, and that can be a minute, an hour, a day, or a week, depending on what's going on. Stress, anxiety, pressure, whatever.
And
else.
everyone has that.
Everybody.
That is a point I'd like to stress.
Absolutely. Every single person has that. The only difference between me and anybody else who doesn't have the long bell curves is that theirs is like this and mine is, like this. So having an up when up is compound. great. Having a down, under pressure, a bit stress time when at the bottom, again, it's confident.
So what happens when you have a down, and how does that affect, there's going to be a few questions, how does that affect others around you? You run a business in a stressful environment anyway, in a stressful industry,
Yeah.
so you've got stress, you're down anyway. How does it affect others around you, and what does it look like, and how do you get out of it, I suppose, if that even is the right way of putting it? And how do you communicate with others to let them know? Part of your post was that you're very aware that it might affect other people.
Absolutely, of course it does. Everybody should be arrogant enough to acknowledge that their actions affect everybody. The people who've walked in front of the camera, she's going to feel that for hours of just being a bit, she's had to, and what about, she might be on camera, and what's it for, and who's going to see it, and all those normal things. And that came from walking in front of a camera for 4 seconds that could be very easily cut out, and we'll never think about her again, and there's no record that it ever happened. We all affect everybody, so there's a few things I do. I'm very open. I will quite happily stand up in the business and say, everybody, I am not doing well. Just, if you see anything...
Does that take strength for you to do, or is that, look, I just need to let everyone know because I'm not feeling well?
Because there's this great big weight, and I'm delegating.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's read those shitty leadership books, all about
and
delegation.
they probably feel better because they thought, oh shit, I thought he was grumpy because I'd done something, but now I may realise that I can carry on.
They definitely don't care enough about what I think for that sort of stuff. It's more that by doing it, there is a shared responsibility for going. You know, so I'm quite strong with the decisions I make. I'm very happy to make decisions, which I know a lot of people are. So in business, I'm quite happy to say, decision made. Doesn't matter if it's the wrong or the right one, the procrastination does more damage. So let's just make the decision.
Yeah, they say the road of life is made up of flat squirrels who couldn't quite decide whether to go left or right.
Yeah,
love that phrase. So which either way, you're on a winner than just making
just
no decision.
Make the decision. Cross the road or don't, doesn't matter, just get on with it. But again, throughout my cycle, my preparedness for risk-taking adjusts. That's not true. I'm prepared to take this much risk at all times. Or when I'm up here, my understanding of the outcomes of the risk and the potential shortfalls is better than when I'm down here. It's marginal.
You're more aware.
Just a greater awareness. So when down here, my colleagues and my business partner support those decision-making processes of just going, listen, that's quite strong, or that's too strong, could somebody else try something first? Yeah, for sure. And conversely, that's not strong enough. And if it's not strong enough, we ask Lynn, and Lynn gets on and smashes whoever it is that needs smashing.
Yeah, I spoke to Lynn, she's great.
So yeah, she's a beast.
You've also said in various bits that I've read that you can't cover stuff up. I mean, it's actually quite refreshing to deal with a boss that doesn't cover stuff out. I mean, do you just say what you think?
Yeah,
how does that?
Yeah. You have to.
Do other people then say what they think back to you?
To an extent.
Yeah.
I certainly hope not all, because that's not who most of the people are. The only people who are disadvantaged when you try and keep stuff hidden away are the people who are.
You can come up, yeah, it's fine.
Now they're all associates to the point. Now it's spread. So not only the people who walk past, now other people are going, I don't want to walk past either. It's spread. The rot has spread of walking in front of a camera. Who gives a shit? I bet they all do selfies all day. The biggest, there is always risk. So we talk in the business openly about customers, management decisions, P&L, finances, cash flow, because we're a small, high-risk business. Anything. We talk about my mental health. All of that gives the people who work for us the most information to make their decisions. Do they want to stay? Do they want to participate? Do they want to go and work somewhere else because they're not happy with some of the risk factors or some of the information they've got? The best thing we can do is give them as much information as possible. Same as in your personal life. Give your friends as much information as you can, share as much with your partners and spouses and colleagues and customers. You know, I'm very open with customers. I'm quite happy to sit in a room and go, yeah, I'm bipolar, fuck off.
And?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, and have you, part of the reason, well, I'd say a huge part of the reason why people don't go, I've got mental health, is because people go, oh, okay, you were down to the last two on the decision-maker process of whether to hire you.
Yeah.
We'll take this one. A bit less risk there.
Yeah, fine, you're not for us.
Yeah.
Really, you are not for us. And it's not, we're not for you, you're not for us.
Yeah.
If customers are, and this is why when we look at some of the content we put out, we're not being edgy, and you know, if you look at most of the space we work in, the Microsoft partner space, everybody's content is almost identical. It's very nice, it's very fluffy, it's very Microsofty. That's fine. There's 25,000 companies that say exactly the same thing.
That's right, now
I see. Almost stone cold gangster. 25,000 companies all say exactly the same stuff. The reason we put the content out that we do is for two reasons. Number one, it's fun, and we don't work for other people. Mostly because they keep inviting us to leave, but secondarily because it's not fun working for other people. And the second reason is to set expectations. We've had feedback. People go, this is going to negatively affect customer relationships. And
What, from customers?
yeah, customers, partners. That it will negatively affect, and it will affect your ability to gain more business. And more business doesn't mean the right business. We're setting expectations that if people are engaging with our content, or they look at us on LinkedIn Advanced, they know what to expect. Don't invite us in and expect us to tell you that rolling out Teams, you can connect your employees and they'll be 35% more effective in a month. If you want that, go and find the people who are saying top 5 ways Teams changes your life. If you want to be told that you're not mature enough for Teams and you haven't got the basics right, let alone any of the communication strategy to encourage your users to use the tools in the right way, don't do it. Yeah, but we want to do it. Well, fine, do it then, just not with us, and know that we told you.
Is that like having a mental health policy or a well-being policy, but actually no one uses it?
Absolutely, nobody uses it. How many companies out there have policies for taking mental health days, for employee well-being services like calling up and speaking to counsellors, or unlimited holiday? Unlimited holiday is a good one. Typically you find that for unlimited holiday, the amount of holiday people take on average reduces because...
I've seen that. I've just worked with a huge company and it almost becomes a, well, I must be better because I've only had 3 days off this year.
Absolutely. So we have the opposite policy. We have a minimum number of days required. There is no upper maximum. If you work for our company, you are required to take 30 days off at minimum a year. Doesn't matter how many more you take off, Rena takes off about 90% of her time. She's an apprentice.
So the minimum is 30 days?
Minimum is 30.
And other examples of...
no upper limit.
Right,
No upper limit.
so you don't need to explain if you really need that.
Don't need to justify a holiday.
Do you have to reason when you call in?
No.
Do you have to
The only thing I require that people are shit at is just put it on our HR system. I am on holiday, or I am working from home. You don't need to provide justification.
Just let us know you're okay and where you are.
Just record it, because I've got health and safety in people, and you've got to report to them. So that's it. There is going to be so many instances of those policies. So many people saying, "Oh, we want to run mental health workshops," and all of those other bits and pieces. That's absolutely fine. It's the equivalent of running a strongman deadlift workshop, talking about how to get to 3x your body weight as a deadlift for people in an office. Yeah, okay, I can see it's miles beyond what I'm capable of getting to, because as it stands, I don't talk to anybody about my mental health, let alone the people I care about next to me. Then the people who I care less about are still quite close. By the time you get to sue in HR in the company you've worked for a year that you don't really like working at, that is a fucking stretch to go, do you know what? I am going to hinge my stability and my comfort and my overall mental health, overall mental health on somebody who doesn't know me.
Yeah.
It's a leap.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
The only
If
reason
you've
I
got an
just-
issue, can you go and speak to them in that room?
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm all right. I'll just pretend I got something else.
But weirdly, by being as open as I am, I have had people come up and ask for mental health advice.
Is it top down then? Do you think?
Yeah.
Would
Well,
your...
It has to be noisiest first.
Because it's not a case of when you've got it, suddenly look through a handbook and go, where do I report to and what do I say? It has to be, it has to be culture-led. It has to be, I would imagine, part of the onboarding, part of the normalness.
The only way is, so when we do projects and stuff with customers, it's always the same stuff. Adoption is impacted due to lack of engagement at a senior level. Do as I say, not as I do. Mental health policies, where to get help from, yes, that's fine. That's quite piecemeal, scattergun stuff. The best thing in my view that can be done is if you are in a position to be noisy, to be seen, or you're in a position of authority, just fucking do it. It's not about marketing and making sure the posters are yellow because it's a positive colour and ensuring the edges on the lettering are soft so that it feels warm for any of that stuff. If just do what we're doing, which is just being transparent and going, yeah, this is my beef, and I'll share with whoever.
So Phil, the reason I dropped you a line, a few reasons, but the main one being that you are a leader in power and you are being noisy, and I want to fan the flames of this because I want it to get out there in the open.
Yeah.
And I want other leaders to see it as well, because there's a huge responsibility. Now, I've been to quite a few sales conferences recently, whether it be sales enablement, sales confidence, SaaS growth, in all these tech and sales environments where actually I've been really impressed by some of the leaders going on stage, and rather than going, this is our product, this is what it does, this is what it makes better, they're talking about the staff and their well-being, and going along mental health. And I've just been thinking that there may be a shift now in terms of, I don't know, like in the olden days, the footballers used to go out and get drunk afterwards, turn up with training, everything else, and that was the way it was done. That was their culture. Nowadays, you've got the young ones coming through, and it's hugely led by well-being, performance. Is sales and technology, is it becoming more of an art form where you have to respect your health and well-being in order to get on because of the stresses and the extra strains put on? And you're a leader and you're being noisy. What's your advice to other leaders who have a sales team or are in technology to not leave it to right to the last minute where it's crisis point? What do you do way before then?
Yeah, don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Sales and tech are great polar opposite examples. Nobody at 12 years old went, I want to be in sales. This is a known fact. Most people with criminology, sports science, media studies, or other humanities degrees are now in sales. Largest percentage of those are recruiters. Nobody intended to go in that direction. So nobody has a natural proclivity to focus from a reasonably young age on developing the skills and putting the hours in to be effective salespeople. You turn up, you start selling, and you realise it's about two things. Not getting fired, not being shouted at by people who have been promoted due to their ability as salespeople, not as their ability as leaders, which happens way too much everywhere. And the other side is working out what is it you need to do to get these people to buy from you. And it's the unanswerable question of, there's a chap, sales trainer, loads of content, very ballsy, talks about its consistency over time and following those things. There'll always be those variables. So, when I was in sales, and bear in mind, I nearly got the full set. But I've done car sales, insurance, and recruitment.
Yeah.
I just need to do estate agency, and then I think I get a certificate.
I can talk you through that one.
Yeah, that's it. That would be, when we're done with tech, we'll do estate agency, and I've got the whole set, which would be quite nice. It is about sitting there and going, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you just, go and sell some stuff. And I don't know what you mean. And so you wear it constantly. And even though salespeople who are very experienced and very good, they still wear it.
So there's huge pressure in sales because you're up when you're up and you think you're great. And you work with some really fast growth companies that are rapidly growing, and all these deals are coming in, and the top salesman must be thinking, look, I'm Ronaldo here, and they're walking the top deals over the line. And then there are others in smaller companies where there aren't so many leads coming in, and the startups, and they're going, well, I can't understand that I've done this, I've made the product, I'm being told it's good by friends and family, which is always dangerous, isn't it? And then I'm putting it to market, but why aren't I a million? Why haven't I got £200 million? Why aren't Silicon Valley coming to buy me out?
So when you're talking about the ups and the downs. I think where we can, in my view, the biggest gap is we're quite focused on very ineffectively, looking at supporting people when they're at the bottom.
Yeah.
Mental health swings a multitude of ways. How do you help the people who are absolutely flying not completely lose their shit?
Which happens.
Absolutely.
That's burnout. That's absenteeism. That's
Absolutely. And totally ill prepared then for when we hit down. And this is where, to your earlier point, we can only resolve to an extent the problem. Fine. We can make it part of, you know, the conversation being common parlance, just part of, you know, how we all talk to each other, by doing really simple stuff like making sure that if you start a company, make sure that you're open. As you bring people in, let them know that you're open. And as your people start adopting that by being open themselves, that's how we spread it.
I'd like to see people see that as a strength and not a weakness, like especially the millennials who are coming in thinking my boss is open about this is great, not my boss is talking about something that, because everyone's affected by it. And the early it's not even raising it, because you're not raising a subject, you are literally discussing the same as what you've had for breakfast, the same as how diet can make you better. We'll come on to exercise in a minute. Just hate the term mental health again. It's almost like diet, feeling good, food, exercise, mental health. Shh. Don't discuss that here.
That is... We need to replace the term. It's the vacuuming Hoover example. It needs to be replaced with something else. Well-being, you know, health, think food and fitness.
Yeah.
Well-being, think emotions and stability, or whatever it is, to just bin off the word mental.
Yeah, I've given this some thought, whether it's, you know, whether it's a radar or whether it's a, I don't know. See, I don't know, and I don't want to. But there should be an easier way. Like, are you hungry? Yes or no? Eat something. When was the last time you've eaten? See, the problem is that in sales, you know that someone's not fine, and you go, "Are you okay?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." And someone said once, "But fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional," which means, "Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm fine." Well, you're not, are you? And what is fine anyway?
No choice but to say you're fine.
It's like trying to close a deal. Would you buy from me, yes or no? No. Oh, don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
So there needs to be well, what level are you on? How are you feeling between 1 and 10? Would people ever talk like that to each other? Don't know.
I don't think so. So before my diagnosis, I went and saw the doctors, and she sat me down. 2 examples, same lady. So she sat me down and I went in and went, I need to put my hand up. Something's not right.
I'll ask you about this in a second. What was that time, that point in time?
So I used to work around the corner from here, and I was stood at Waterbeach train station, just waiting for the train as normal, and I was listening to music or something. I did it a few times a week, and from where the fence is to the edge of the platform for me is 3 strides. There was a fast train coming, and I took 2 of them to walk in front of it. No idea why. Absolutely out of the blue. No preparation. No suicidal thoughts. No. I was going. I was just walking.
Well, something physically in you
moved
you.
And I moved. And I took 2 steps and went, what the fuck? And just stopped and went, okay, don't really know what just happened. However, that is warning enough, thank you.
What did you do? Reduce into a shivering wreck and try and...
No, I'm not that guy. I just sort of went, how did that happen? And then tried to, what was I thinking about then? I wasn't thinking about anything. Nothing profound, just, you know, whatever it was. It just completely out of the blue. I had no idea why.
Frightening though.
Huh?
Frightening.
Oh yeah, shit my pants. The train was really fast as well. I thought, you know, terrible mess and awful kind of how it all just sort of sprung.
I've put lunch on for us.
Sandwiches.
Just pop it there, that's fine.
Are you sophomore?
No.
Oh, is he?
I'm joking.
No,
I'm very gullible, so you...
no, trusting. It's an asset.
Exactly.
So I went and saw my doctor and I went, look, this shit just happened. And I have no idea. And I have missed a bit actually. It wasn't as wasn't as spontaneous as like 1 second. A couple of seconds before, so no pre-planning. A couple of seconds before, I thought about having my phone out and doing a video of the train coming, because I have life insurance. A friend of mine drives for a trains company, loves trains, proper train nerd, hid it for 10 years. Good example of people hiding stuff from each other. And I thought, well, if I'm hit by the train when I'm filming, it's an accident and my life insurance. Kind of a few seconds of thought, and then off I went. Didn't happen. Went and saw my doctor, and she ran me through an NHS questionnaire of like 14 questions to confirm whether or not you're suffering from depression, which I failed, yes. I don't meet the criteria, so she went, there's nothing I can do for you.
Well, it said you weren't depressed.
Yeah, because I'm not.
Oh, it was the wrong test. It was like testing you for X, but you've actually got Y.
Yeah, yeah.
And giving you the all clear.
Yeah.
Right.
I just went, no, just went, oh, there's nothing I can do for you. Went away, just wasn't improving. Couldn't let it go. Went to a different doctor, and he went, oh, I can refer you to a psychiatrist. And I went and saw that psychiatrist. I saw it for 45 minutes, done. Life changed immediately, because he was kind of the wrong person. Other side of it, and this I think relates back to your fitness stuff, because of the pills and all that stuff, I get checked up by the doctor, I get bloods done and all that other kind of stuff. I was with the doctor recently, and despite my appearance, I do quite a bit of CrossFit.
I've read.
And, you know, spend a lot of time breaking stuff. And she sat down, she went through, bloods are okay, blah blah blah, but she looked at me, she went, far too fit. She's a
Fit.
South African lady. She went, far too fit.
I've had worse
like-
insults.
Yeah, and I was like, so this was just
You went,
out
oh,
of the blue.
all
I was
right.
like, right, and I was like, but, you know, she went, how do you eat? And I was like, well, here's my nutrition plan from the nutritionist I've worked with, this is what I eat. Oh, do you do any exercise? Yeah, I do this, and it's, 5 sessions a week. Do you drink? No. Do you smoke? No. Do any drugs? No. Really boring. She looked at me and went, still too fit. It's like, that's how we need to talk about the mental stuff.
Yes,
She was
yes.
not backwards about going, doesn't matter all the stuff you're doing, you're still too fat. You need to eat less of the stuff you're eating. Just be less fat. In a much nicer way, we need to be as frank about having the conversation around the stuff that's happening in our heads, not just in our asses.
And realise that everyone has it, so it's okay to talk about it as normally as any topic.
You can go past it.
Yeah? Okay.
Can you do a cartwheel though? It'll be good for the footage.
Sorry?
Can you cartwheel past the camera?
Yeah,
It'll be
sure,
good for
yeah.
the footage.
Is it yours?
Yes.
It's just, it needs to be, because that's on the way where there is a meeting room. I'm sorry to interrupt. But
No, it's fine.
it has to
Can I
be
move it here?
Just on the side at least for us to access.
Yeah, see these gentlemen, they had a day that was fine, but it was too small for their needs.
This is quite chill. We won't be here long. I think walking through is fine.
I need help.
Yeah,
It's quite nice.
Yeah,
We
it's
can
fine.
animate over them cartoons.
Yeah, normally that's not ideal, but as long as you are, again, just like to keep it, because those people will come out as well.
Sure.
So, yeah. Just,
Keeping it gentle. Yeah, it's all good.
okay, alright, that's fine.
We were going back to how easy it is to talk about exercise, and that relates to your health, your physical appearance, I suppose, health, well-being.
You can see that you do way too much bench pressing for the well,
Do you know what?
manly pecs.
Yeah, but do you know what? It was a conscious effort. So I'm in a pressurized sales environment. I had things going on in my life as well that were adding to the pressure. I seem to have pressure everywhere else. And for me, I couldn't control any of it. And I think that was the period of, not what's happening, trying to readjust. I'm not in control of anything. I don't mean I'm a control freak. I mean, I couldn't control anything myself. Things were happening to me. So the only thing I could control was the way I looked and the way I trained and the way I felt. And someone said to me, you will never ever feel bad after a run. And that was the one thing that stuck with me. So whenever I think I can't do it, right, go out for a run, do a 10K, come back, and the rest of my day, see, what I can't understand is that one day you can look in the mirror and you are no worth to anyone. You're down on your luck. You just see yourself as unsuccessful, everything else, right? the next day, whether it be for exercise or not, or just because something's clicked, you're the same person. You can be wearing, you're exactly the same clothes. You can look identical. The power of the mind, and you look in the mirror, and then you get in your car and the right music comes on, the sun comes out, and I can't stress you, the same person, and yet you think, I can take on the world. You know, someone's giving me an opportunity, I've grabbed it, I'm running with it, I've got more opportunity. It's self-perpetuating, and for me that is exercise. That was, for me personally, it might not be for everyone.
I think for everybody. Has to be for everybody. Has to be. Endorphins release, the whole lot.
Well, it means you...
Big gym buddy.
I was thinking that though, like what you said, like after a run, you feel automatically better.
Yeah.
I barely exercise, but when I do, I feel like, you feel better.
Yeah, you can't feel, you always feel better after a run, and that was the one thing that someone said.
The biggest difference, so there's a couple of things. When you talk about the difference between day 1 and day 2, I think we're all guilty of really underestimating how powerful our brains are.
Ah, I'm open to this now. I tell you, after the last couple of years, I'm really...
At a really basic level of, if you can stand in your pants, let's go one more. If you can stand naked in front of the mirror one day and marvel at the magnificence of your chopper and think, they are some good looking biceps, I've got a bicep vein going on or whatever. The next day, exactly the same body, not enough time for anything to fundamentally change, and see something completely different demonstrates our brains are significantly more powerful and have more control over us than we ever could over them. I think we underappreciate it. So trying to solve the problem, going, oh, it's fine, just do a bit of yoga and listen to some positivity guy talking about how you can 10x your life. No. It's more than that, which means you need to treat it like it's less than that. Try and, how do you eat an elephant? Not one bite at a time,
Yeah.
It's with a load of friends. But those are there forever. So that's, I think, part of it. And the other bit for me is, for most people, it's finding the right exercise.
Yes,
So
yes.
Emma, who I know, she's awesome. They're talking about the minute, so where my daughter goes to school, every morning one of the classes has to run around the field, and you run a bit, walk a bit, run a bit, walk a bit, so everybody does a mile a day or something. And they're asking the question now, which is a great question, how many adults run? How many adults as a percentage enjoy running? It's very low.
It's tiny.
So why? Because I think running's awful. I only enjoy running.
So did I until I got weeks into it.
And that's too much effort. It's just so boring.
CrossFit is very personable, isn't it? You're in teams, you're motivating each other.
Noisy, and
Yeah,
that's,
that suits you
why it
completely.
suits me. So what they're looking at the minute is running the right thing to be having kids do, because it's setting up, it's using an exercise that people don't do when they're adults. Swimming at school is fun. So people, if they swim as an adult, fine, they're choosing to swim. One of my guys has started swimming, he's doing amazing. He's got an hour each day and he's now swimming twice the distance he was 6 weeks ago. So we're having kids start in, and they're not playing tag. They're running around the field.
Yeah, the Golden Mile, I think
so
it is. Yeah.
It's a mile of running. Who cares? So do some more stuff. So my daughter does stuff at school. She does gymnastics. She does CrossFit, and she does swimming. She loves all of those things. And the variety that we're exposing her to will allow her to make choices about what she wants to do as she develops her exercise. And the only reason I started CrossFit was I was a member of a gym and it was shit. It's a normal thing, like douchebags doing bicep curls and then sitting on their phone for 10 minutes and doing like 5 reps on the bench press and then
Take a photo and then go, you're done.
Like, just can't do it. No
Tag
reason.
yourself at 5:30 because you want everyone to see you at the gym at 5:30, do 20 minutes and off.
Yeah.
It's all about how you look rather than actually just concentrating. I mean, this will get me onto another point. We live in a world now where everyone compares themselves, where you see these snapshots of someone in 5:30 in the gym and people say you should be the last one to leave at 11 o'clock at night. And you compare yourself. You see someone who's with the right car or doing well, and you don't know for a minute that they're not going through a divorce, going through crisis, they can't pay for the car, they can't do everything else. But we live in a world now where you snapshot, I want to be that, I'm not that, so I must be inferior.
Yeah, well, I've just done it in saying that bicep curling douchebags in the gym. For some of those guys doing bicep curls, that might be the 1% thing they need to make them stable. Just my assumption that, bicep curls are for douchebags, that's a prejudice I carry that makes me then apply a label to that person that they care much more about how they look than actually being strong, fit and functional. And that's something that I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to, because it's mine and I can do what I want with it. And that's why I started CrossFit, because I went to that. It's alright, as long as you cartwheel, you're free to go through.
You don't want to see that.
No, I really do.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's why I started CrossFit, because I went to that gym 24 times in a year and just felt shitty all the time. And so CrossFit gives me what I need. It allows me to be a CrossFit wanker, which is the greatest community to be part of, because you just talk about CrossFit all the time, everybody hates you. It's awesome. It's a great way to clear a room. And it's the variety and the fact that there's a community in the box I train at, really much bigger than this space here, and everybody knows.
But it does it for you.
Absolutely.
You don't need to explain it, do you? I think
You've got to find that.
Yeah.
You've got to try different things to find. If running works for you, and it works for Liam, have at it.
There are other labels where you think people say you can't be selfish. I think when it comes, if you're spiraling down or you're in a stressful environment, see, we've done a lot of interviews recently, and we asked people when was the the time that you failed? When was the last time you were resilient? And how did you do it? And I think, someone said, well, I was in an environment where it was a bit toxic. I had another half who was a bit toxic. I had an environment where, and I had to strip it away. And he said, I don't like the word selfish, but I had to be for that point. Otherwise, no one else was looking after me. And I think what I'm trying to do is get to the point where I'm advising people at work, even if that's the right term, to put themselves first sometimes. Change that terminology. Not being selfish, you're looking after yourself.
Well, you have to be selfish.
Yeah.
I am selfish with my mental health.
Yeah.
If I don't work out after a couple of days, I can feel it.
Yeah.
After 3 days, I can really feel it. After any more than 3 days, get the guys in the office asking when I'm next going to work out. And you could probably do with going and working out, because as that stuff wears off, get a bit grumpier and a bit not great stuff. It's not like I get more relaxed and all that. It's the other side of it. I get a bit grumpy and stuff.
You said to me on the phone when we were lining this up that you actually say you said to me on the phone when we were lining this up that actually you say almost like a code word, guys, I'm on a 7 today, or I'm on a...
Yeah.
You are the epitome of what I'm trying to highlight a leader to do.
Yeah, just got to do it. And
then they know from that.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, imagine the impact that it can have, or it does have. I'm having a shitty day. So let's say I've not been able to go for a while, or, whatever it is. So I'm not having a great day. And then I go into the office, and I then pay that forward by making somebody feel like they've not done their thing. And they then pay that forward to another colleague in the room. And they then pay that forward, and you can say, well, just by going in and not being transparent, I could probably negatively affect 30 or 40 people's day. Why would I do that? Because within that 30 or 40, there's an excellent chance that at least one of those other people in that circle is doing the same thing. So not only are they spider webbing out from there, they're compounding in. Hello. We are. To be honest, we're spying on you guys, and we're only pretending to just catch you as you pass. We just want to know who's in the room, what you're talking about. And so that sort of stuff spiders out. What I hope to achieve by doing the opposite, and you mentioned, I think, while Liam had broken the camera, amateur, it stings, a bit burn. You were talking about self-promotion and stuff, and there's always going to be an element of, we are using, as a company, we are using my transparency about my mental health as a way to differentiate us from anybody else. The predominant reason for doing it is that where we talk about that, I have a bad day, I pass it on, somebody else has a bad day. Well, what if we're just transparent and going, I'm not having a great day. And that doesn't mean feel sorry for me or ask me if I want an ice cream or a hug. It means acknowledge that some aspects of my behaviour today may be inconsistent, due to this thing. It is not to do with anything external, it is internal. Therefore, respond accordingly. Have a little bit of patience, tell me I'm being a dick, tell me not to send that email, whatever it might be that you know, because I've been consistent over time with transparency, that's how you can help.
In the same way that someone might bring you a tissue if you had full-on flu, just asking for someone, that's almost your badge. That's just saying, okay, I've got the flu today. If you do see me, offer me a Beecham's
And equally, the stronger bit of go home. You know, go home. You're ill. This is an air-conditioned room. Go home. You're just going to spread the cold. So go home. You can do exactly the same thing with people who are having a difficult day. You could do we'll take this noise away. If you're feeling under pressure, we'll take the noise away. It's fine. We can cover you for a day.
We got onto the topic of self-promotion because I think what sorry guys, can I just check your
I think we've got to. Mine says on.
You sold that a sec.
Whoever solves the battery problem is going to be a gazillionaire.
It's still got low battery, is it?
It'll be alright. It'll be alright. Just keep it on your lap and just keep an eye on it. If the orange,
Okay.
orange light is on,
Self-promotion.
Yes. Good to go?
Yep.
So we got onto the point of self-promotion because what we both want, the reason we're doing this is to try and find a leader in our field that will raise the bar. So someone probably in the C-suite that comes out and says, look, everyone's normal. I'm not asking for people to come out and say, look, I'm this and I was at my knees and I was everything else. What I want people to do is use the language that there was this time when I went through this thing that I had to be resilient, that this got me off the floor. This is how I talked about it. I did have anxiety or I was depressed for a bit, and just talk about it as easily as we're talking about it now. And I'm looking for a role model, as you are yourself, that you're a business leader that's come out to talk about it. And that's what we need to do on I suppose, a bigger stage as well.
At the minute, our best chance. No, carry
It's fine.
on.
Okay.
Yeah. You can come and join if you like.
Yeah, we can. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure we'll have some things to
Talking about like bipolar and transparency around mental health.
Oh, wow. Wow.
See, you want to get involved now.
See? It's a burning topic.
I think at the minute, the best chance of it really accelerating is me being misquoted as the other Philip Schofield. And somebody like the Daily Mail picking up that something from this gets misquoted as being attributed to him, and then that would be really noisy because, as you say, it's lacking enough. Let's just get somebody to post something in a senior position that normalises that it's not even newsworthy that this stuff is going on or that we've been able to do X, Y, and Z, and then try and help it head out. Yeah.
My point is that if everyone's got it and you're not talking about it, are you the odd one by not talking about it? So I don't mean you, I mean the person. So if I went to 10 business leaders, and I keep going to these conferences, whether it's Sales Loft, Sales Confidence, they are talking about it. If I went to a business leader and said, would you like to talk about it? And they said, no, I don't know anyone who's been affected by it. Yeah. I'm not affected by it. No, there's nothing to say. I want the emphasis to be, okay, well, you probably need to talk to someone because you've got either you are the one person in the world who hasn't got it or been affected by anyone, and you are in some way superhuman and well done.
Yeah.
We should box your genes.
Yeah, lock that person.
Yeah, lock you up because you're the odd.
Yeah.
I want to speak to people who say, of course everyone's got it. This is what happened to me. This is what I try and instill in the team because it's normal. In the same way that you go, right, well, we have a healthy canteen because we want people to eat healthily. Yeah. We have an open door policy because we want people to talk. We have this policy because of that. I just want it to be up there with the top 3 or 4 things.
Yeah, And I think absolutely, and if it were to be discussed in the way that farts are, everybody farts, and occasionally, depending on what you've eaten, your farts might be particularly savage.
But they wouldn't talk about that around a boardroom table.
No, talk about it in the office with colleagues, and it needs to spread so that you can say, oh, I did this week and I've got absolutely catastrophic farts. And even worse than that, I'm now having travesty poos.
But you can't even say I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted because I was up late last night because of some other reason. Because they go, oh, you're not on your top game then.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not. So there is a face, obviously, that salespeople have to put on. Now, I understand there's professionalism.
Yeah.
And there's a way that if you keep going off topic with stuff, you don't actually get the thing, which is increasing revenue and increasing your pipeline, increasing client base. I just think there's a way that you could get even better results by softening the edges on some of this stuff.
Well, I think like car sales and estate agencies and recruiters, I still don't understand why the majority of them are suit and ties.
Yeah, yeah. Let's dress you in something uncomfortable that you never want to wear.
Yeah, I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I would have been more effective selling cars wearing a 20 quid Next shirt and tie than I would have being dressed similar way to 99% of people who walked through the door,
Yeah.
which was in casual wear.
And not kind of subservient by the very nature that I have to dress
Yeah,
up
and then
smartly
it's
to...
just, oh, well, then I've got to act professional. Yeah, what if the person I'm talking to isn't professional? And what if I'm not professional? Why is that? That adds a lot on top. I think there's a guy we know, Dan, who's Liam's boss, and he talks about authenticity, and if you're one person at work and one person at home, how can you ever be authentic? And that, yeah, fine, I guess you get people in suits and yada yada. The same could apply for how we think about our mental well-being, is that how can we possibly, if a lot of people struggle to have a t-shirt on in the pub, chatting and swearing with mates, making dick jokes, and then they go into the office and they have to work really hard to not swear and to put a suit and tie on, in the morning feeling one person and then being able to pull off being a totally different mental state throughout the whole day for everybody.
It's not sustainable.
Absolutely.
I tell you it's not sustainable. And if you have to be one different person at work and you are continuously under that high-pressured environment, and you get to the stage where Friday's a write-off because you're absolutely exhausted, Saturday is potentially your recover day, and Sunday you're either prepping, packing, doing that spreadsheet, something for Monday, and you've got one day. Heaven forbid you've got a family that are all looking at you like, okay, well, how do I act on that Saturday when you suddenly want everything, and you're always tired, and there has to be a balance. I think you're exactly right. You cannot just come out of the elevator and go, right, let's go for it, and then get home and say, okay, I'm relaxed. And there has to be a blurred line between the two.
Yeah, and I don't think the way to address it would be providing more inbound leads or reducing sales targets or lengthening the sales cycle. I don't think that really would address the problem for a salesperson under pressure. Deal with the other stuff and let that bit. So when I was talking to my shrink, we're talking about the pills I'm on can do one of three things. They could do nothing if the person's, again, lots of different medications used for lots of different reasons. You wouldn't give the stuff I'm on to somebody who is so profoundly mentally ill that they can't function. I think we talked about earlier. So take people who are on the same meds that I am. You could do one of three things. A little bit if you don't put any work in. They can either provide a baseline that allows you to build on as an individual with work. So you take the pills, stabilise, do more. Or you can view it that you do as much as you can, you put the pills on, and that makes this bit easier and could give you the capacity to do a bit more. For those, and I don't like being medicated and all that stuff, but it's made such a big difference to me, I wouldn't change it. For most people, most of the time, if you concentrate more on this area, giving people either additional bandwidth or the bandwidth they've got, making it used more effectively by supporting them better as individuals, they need to less worry about more inbound leads, reduced sales targets, additional sales support, whatever it might be, because that person has more bandwidth across the 168 hours a week rather than just the 40 that you see when they're in the office and the 20 where they're at home going, I don't know how to do this.
So this is what someone said to me the other day. It's like, you know those Christmas things full of snow and you got home in the middle, you shake them up. It's a bit like that. When someone is stressed and you're shaking it, you cannot see the house in the middle, right? You cannot see your sales, you cannot see your goals, you cannot see anything else. You just see all this mess around you. And the only way for you to actually calm down, breathe, which is one of the main things, isn't it? And see what you actually need to do is to let the whole snow, I think they call it.
Just let it settle.
Just let it settle and then you can see it. And if you're in a constant environment when you're being whipped and chased or even if it's your own pressure that you're putting yourself under, but no one's letting you off a bit, you can't see it and you're continually shaking it.
Absolutely. And then if you share more widely and you're a bit more, and we can be a bit more transparent, somebody might go, oh, I've got one of those. Yeah, no, the door's blue on the house. Is that what you were after? Yeah, I can't see what colour the door is.
I can't see what I'm doing because I've got so much coming in. I was with someone on the plane on the way up here and they were talking about the 4 pillars of health. Eat well, sleep, eat well, drink lots of water, sleep, exercise, but the 4th one, he said, was laugh, have fun and relax.
Yeah.
I could argue that sometimes none of those get done at work and it would be a case of getting some of those into work to...
Oh no, carry on. Yeah. Yeah, we are, but we're just gonna, you're just gonna be famous. There is a lot of social construct stuff that needs to be unpicked. So for example, on this, we've had almost everybody has apologised for us blocking a public walkway.
Yes, yeah.
Like, what are you apologising for? You should be having a go at us. We have just camped out and are filming in the only place that you can get to the toilet or out. Why are you apologising to us? We should be thanking them for their patience.
Yeah.
And instead, they're apologising, which means they're, as you know from sales, you never say sorry, you always thank people for their patience because of the kind of the positive and negative impact on the social dynamic. These people are now leaving apologising and feeling bad about walking in front of us, when in fact it should be the other way around.
And we've tried to be as nice as possible.
Yeah.
You're the captain of your team, you've started your business and it's a team sport. To get the best out of everyone is a team sport.
Yep.
You've taken one for the team. We're asking any CEO or business leader to take one for the team. Talk of a time where you've maybe had a struggle, come on camera, talk about how you were resilient and how it affects everyone, hoping that it may open up just like you've done to the rest of the team. So and see what you're required to overcome it or at least start a conversation. I can't thank you enough for what was, I suppose, a speculative looking on LinkedIn for companies to become involved in, to seeing your post, which has then led to this, which then may hopefully lead to other people talking about their cultures. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you, and let's hope that we can start the ball rolling for people in higher positions to come out and talk about.
And I think, the thanks has to be sent back in that I've only ever thought about this tactically, related to me as an individual and how I am happy to share. You're thinking about this properly strategically. How do we get more of this? How do we compound it to make it louder and reach farther and then matter less because it's part of the natural conversation? So fingers crossed, we're coming for you.